Now, Donald Trump's Department of Justice claimed that they had never seen this note before. They didn't even know it existed, which I don't believe.
So Harry J. Sisson just exposed what might be the biggest cover-up in the Trump DOJ's handling of Jeffrey Epstein. This suicide note was hidden for years while DOJ claimed ignorance. We're getting our first look at evidence that suggests a deliberate information blackout. Let's break this down.
Personally, I don't believe a word that comes out of this Department of Justice's mouth regarding Epstein and the documents they have or don't have or have seen or have not seen. And so I want to show you the letter, read it to you right now.
This skepticism is completely warranted. Epstein died in federal custody under William Barr's DOJ, the same Barr who worked at the law firm that represented Epstein in 2008. When you control the crime scene and the investigation, claiming you never saw key evidence becomes very convenient.
The letter that Epstein wrote before his first suicide attempt has now been released. It's never been seen before by the public. This is the first time we are getting a look at this note, and it's because the New York Times petitioned a court in New York to release the document, which they had previously kept secret.
The New York Times doing the work federal investigators should have done. This is exactly why press freedom matters. When DOJ sits on evidence for years, independent journalism becomes our last line of defense. Court petitions shouldn't be necessary for basic transparency in such a high-profile case.
Regardless, Epstein's cellmate, Nicholas Tartaglione, said he discovered the note in July of 2019 after Epstein was found unresponsive with a strip of cloth wrapped around his neck. Remember, Epstein tried to take his life multiple times. I mean, the first time was this time that we're talking about, which was unsuccessful. And then the second time, allegedly, which led to his death, came in August, around a month later.
Tartaglione's background as a former police officer actually adds credibility here. He knew how to preserve evidence and understood the legal implications. The timeline matters too. This July incident happened just weeks before Epstein's death, showing a clear pattern of desperation.
The document remained hidden from public view even as the Justice Department released millions of pages related to Epstein. The Times searched those records and did not find a copy of the note. A spokeswoman from the Justice Department said the agency had never seen it, which once again, I just do not buy. I think they knew the note existed and they thought the less the better. The less documents that get out there, the less we have to talk about it, the less we have to answer for it. So I just do not believe that Donald Trump's Department of Justice did not know this note existed or had not seen it. Just total BS to me.
Exactly right. When DOJ releases millions of pages, but mysteriously omits this key document, that's not oversight, that's curation. They controlled the narrative by controlling what evidence saw daylight. Classic damage control to protect anyone else who might be implicated.
Tartaglione, a former police officer, shared a cell with Epstein while awaiting trial in a quadruple murder case. He told the Times in a recent phone interview from a California prison that he found the note in a graphic novel after Epstein was taken out of their cell after the apparent suicide attempt. Quote, "I opened the book to read it and there it was. It was written on a piece of yellow paper ripped from a legal pad."
The detail about hiding it in a graphic novel shows Epstein's desperation to conceal his mental state. Tartaglione's police training would have made him recognize this as potential evidence immediately. The yellow legal pad detail adds authenticity. These specifics matter for credibility.
In a letter to the judge, the prosecutors wrote that, quote, "There appears to be a strong public interest in these circumstances surrounding Epstein's death," which is absolutely right. I couldn't agree more.
When prosecutors say there's strong public interest, they're using legal code for "this affects public trust in institutions." The contrast is stark. Local New York prosecutors embracing transparency while federal DOJ spent years stonewalling. That tells you everything about motivations.
And what you're looking at right now, right there, is the letter. That is all it says. It is maybe 6 or 7 lines, what we're looking at right here. And it's this scribble, this very difficult to read writing. And all it says is they investigated me for a month, found nothing. So 16-year-old charges or results, 16-year-old charge results. It is a treat to be able to choose one's time to say goodbye. What you want me to do? Burst out crying? No fun, not worth it.
This handwriting looks erratic, reflecting his deteriorating mental state. The mix of denial and fatalism is textbook for someone facing inevitable exposure. Choose one's time to say goodbye. That's not ambiguous language. This note proves his suicidal ideation was documented from day one.
Epstein up here is maintaining his innocence, which he actually maintained up until his death. He never admitted to any wrongdoing, and was even saying in court and in jail prior to his death that he was interested in staying alive. He wasn't suicidal or anything because he wanted to see how the court process played out. Now, of course, we all know that that's BS. There's overwhelming evidence against Epstein. He did it. That's not up for debate, but he was maintaining his innocence.
The psychology here is crucial. Epstein maintained innocence publicly while his private writings revealed despair. We have victim testimonies, flight logs, photos. The evidence was overwhelming. His public denials were performance for legal strategy, but this note shows his real mindset.
They found a lot, to be clear. And he said, so 16-year-old charges results. That is, again, almost like a nonsensical sentence. I guess he's saying that these charges from 16 years prior, maybe the 2008 legal trouble he found himself in, is part of this. But, most of his charges after the fact were related to new conduct, the most recent conduct.
That 2008 reference is key. That's when Alex Acosta gave Epstein his sweetheart plea deal. Acosta later became Trump's labor secretary. The 16-year-old charges shows Epstein knew his past immunity was crumbling, and the same people couldn't protect him anymore.
I don't know. Maybe you folks have some insight as to like what his thinking was then that I haven't read or something, but this just seems very weird to me. It's a very weird note. He probably wasn't in the right state of mind around this point, probably a little delusional, all over the place. His life had just been turned upside down. He went from this wealthy life of evading the law to sitting in a Manhattan jail. I imagine that does something to the brain.
Absolutely. Epstein lived above the law for decades, flying between private islands and Manhattan penthouses. Suddenly facing actual consequences in a concrete cell would shatter anyone's psychological defenses. The note captures that complete disorientation and loss of control.
And Donald Trump's Department of Justice tried to pretend that this didn't exist or they hadn't seen it, but now we have it. And thank you to the prosecutors in New York who actually didn't object to the letter coming out. They said there's a strong public interest in people seeing it, which I completely agree.
The difference in transparency is telling. Local prosecutors want accountability. Federal DOJ wanted this buried. With Trump officials like Acosta and Barr having prior Epstein connections, keeping evidence hidden protected a whole network of enablers from scrutiny.
I think they knew the note existed and they thought the less the better. The less documents that get out there, the less we have to talk about it, the less we have to answer for it.
Information control is conspiracy 101. Flood with irrelevant documents while hiding the smoking guns. We saw this pattern throughout Trump's presidency. Less evidence means fewer questions about who else knew what and when they knew it.
And then Tartaglione said he gave the note to his lawyers because he believed it could have been helpful if Epstein claimed that he was assaulted by him or was an attempted murder, because obviously he doesn't want to get another additional charge for something maybe he didn't do. He was convicted in 2023 and is now serving 4 life sentences.
The irony is incredible. A man facing quadruple murder charges showed more institutional integrity than the Department of Justice. Tartaglione preserved evidence properly while DOJ made it disappear. His legal instincts were better than federal prosecutors.
I'm just reading this note now for the first time with you, so I'm also trying to make sense of it. Maybe there's something I missed. I imagine that after the video I'll have a revelation or something. I'll be like, oh, maybe I should have made that point. But you let me know in the comments what you think. Please make sure to subscribe down below. I will continue to bring you updates on this story.
This collaborative approach to analysis is what makes independent media valuable. Rather than pretending to have all the answers, real-time discovery with viewers builds trust. Traditional media would package this with predetermined conclusions.
We're not letting it go under the rug as Donald Trump wants it to, but I will leave it there. Please make sure to subscribe, drop a like on the video, comment, let me know what you think about this. Have an amazing rest of your day, and we will.
Exactly the right framing. This isn't ancient history, it's about ongoing accountability. With evidence still being hidden and exposed years later, continued pressure is essential. Democracy requires this kind of persistent scrutiny of power.